Here we are on the front of our Keystone Bullet 287 RLS. The following will be a technical walkthrough, just like your technician did with you on date of delivery. Your unit may vary with some of the component brand names or the style of the unit slightly, but it should be your floor plan. And we're going to go through and we're going to talk about some of the components, how they operate, show you where everything is. And if you want a deeper dive on these components or the name brand that you might have in your unit, you can find that on our YouTube channel for Great American RV under the Helpful Hacks section. We're going to start up front here with our 7-way plug. This plug connects to your 7-way on your truck that you are towing with, and it sends your signals for all your lights, also your charge line for your battery, as well as your brakes. That battery charge line will feed off of your alternator and your battery on your vehicle you are towing with. The other thing we have on here is our breakaway cable. Our breakaway cable should have a lanyard latch that hooks onto your receiver hitch itself. You don't want to hook it to your hitch that you're towing with or to the safety chains, anything like that, because if those are the components that fail, the intention is for this cable to stay with the truck, and it's going to pull the pin out of that box, and the 12 volts from your battery on your camper is going to send voltage to those brakes and activate the brakes on the trailer to stop it if it ever comes disconnected. We need to make sure that we have a good battery on our trailer, otherwise that safety device will not work. And we also need to make sure that that pin is inserted properly in that box and that it never comes out, otherwise it will be activating your brakes. We also have our power tongue jack right here. Our power tongue jack, we got our switch for our lights up and down. It also is a 12-volt power component. If we follow this wire down right here to our battery, we will find a blade fuse in line for this jack. In the event that it is not operating, you want to check that first and make sure that it is not blown. Next, you want to check your battery voltage and ensure that you have good battery voltage to operate this. In the event you can't figure it out, there is a black cap right here on the top. We remove that black cap, insert our override crank, and we can crank it manually up and down. Behind that, we have our dual propane system. Our dual propane system has 2 tanks as well as a dual propane regulator. If we have both of our tanks on, there is a selector valve on that regulator that you can point to one tank or the other. This will identify the tank that you are pulling from. When that tank runs dry, you'll see that indicator on there. That indicator will tell you red or green, or mainly red is the biggest significance that you need to follow, and that tells you that tank is empty. When your tank is empty, it will automatically change over to that secondary tank and begin pulling propane out of there so it doesn't interrupt your service. Once you disconnect that other tank, have it refilled, and select that tank in particular, that indicator will go from red to full. Behind that, we have our battery cargo space as well as our battery disconnect. Our battery disconnect is for when we are storing our unit not plugged in. We want to turn that battery disconnect off. That way we're not draining our battery with the power on the camper. Now, if we are charging our unit, we're storing it plugged in, we want that battery disconnect on. As well as when we're camping and using the camper, we want that disconnect on. Anytime we're plugged in, leave it on because it charges your battery here in the front. On our passenger side, we have our solar on the side plug right here. You do have solar panels on your roof, but if you store your unit or working off of solar power off grid, you may not have sunlight because you're in the shade or under a tree. You can plug in a solar panel right here and put it out in the sun. Now, you do have a solar controller already on here. That solar controller converts that solar energy into charging power for your battery. Now, once again, if you're off grid, you can run off of your battery power. That battery power is only going to last as long as it is charged, and that solar system isn't necessarily going to keep up with it if you are draining it down faster than it can be supplied. Also, to the right of our charge controller is our solar disconnect. If we want to completely eliminate our solar system at any point, we want to turn that switch off. Now, this is different from our battery disconnect. This one is only disconnecting our solar. If we are storing our unit unplugged and we do have sun on that roof, turn that solar on, and you want that to charge your battery. Turning the battery disconnect will not affect this whatsoever. You want that solar disconnect on whenever you have sunshine over that area, and it will help trickle charge that battery. If you don't have sunshine in that area, you want to cut it off so it doesn't pull from that battery, you can certainly do that for the controller. And above that, we have our inverter prep. Our inverter prep is pre-wired That means the wires are already ran in there into our breaker panels. An inverter changes 12 volts to 110. So while that solar is charging your battery, the inverter would pull off of the battery and convert it to 110 to certain inverted outlets in your unit to where you can run a TV, coffee pot, small electronics. And then once again, it will only last as long as that battery lasts. Also in there, we are pre-wired for our Lippert tire link system. This is a tire monitoring system. You can purchase aftermarket, install that monitor on there and the sensors on the tires, and monitor the temperature and the air pressure while you're traveling down the road. Also in this front compartment, we have our control center for all our water, our jacks, everything else. We're going to cover that now. So here we have our control center in that front compartment. Up top, you'll see our key TV system. This system is where we'll hook up our park cable if they have one, or our external satellite system right here. We'll look on the inside where these things go and how it operates. This power light right here indicates that we do have 12 volt power to that key TV system, so it is operating and doing what it needs to do. Down below that, we do have our outdoor water faucet or shower hookup. We have a quick connect right here. We put that male fitting in and we can lock it in. We have hot and cold water. We can put a shower head faucet on here or a sprayer, and we'll have that outside water. To disconnect, push that ring in and it pops right out. To our right here, we have our extend and retract. This is for our stabilizer jacks, LCI stabilizer jacks. These are not intended to level your unit. They're only to stabilize your unit. If we want to level our unit, we'll use the stacker blocks that you can purchase, and we want to put them under our tires and level our unit from left to right, depending on the slope of the pad that we are putting our camper on. Once we have that leveled out left to right, we'll use our tongue jack to level our unit from front to back. Once your unit is level, you'll come to these stabilizer jacks, you'll run your jacks down, and you want to touch the ground and a little bit more after that. You don't want to put a ton of weight on it because it will cripple those jacks and make them bend and break, and warranty does not cover that type of damage. This switch below that operates our underglow lights. We can see outside under there that will operate that. And here we have our satellite prep. If we have a satellite dish installed on our roof, this can come from there and hook up to our satellite right here on our key TV system. Here we have our fresh water tank connection. We'll take our water hose and we can put it in there and fill our fresh tank. We can monitor the level of that by our meter on the inside, we'll touch on later. This is for if we are dry camping. We don't have a city water connection to hook to, so we'll pull from our fresh tank by initiating our 12 volt water pump. Now we can drain this tank out. That's going to be that blue line that's just under our unit we'll look at in a little while. And we want to drain it out when we're not using that water. We don't need it. Number one, it saves weight on our unit when we're traveling. And number two, that water is going to get stagnant after a while. So we don't want to leave it in there if we don't need it. To the right here, we have our city water connection. This is if we do have a water hose hookup at the campground or wherever we're staying, we hook the water line up to here, and that will give us water pressure to all of our fixtures. Below that, we have our winterization valve. This valve is only going to be used when we are winterizing our unit, and we'll turn to there, to that on position, and we'll use this knob right here to pump antifreeze into our system. More information on winterization is available in your owner's manual or one of our videos in the helpful hacks section. Down at the bottom, we have our black tank flush. Just know right now this is where that's located. We'll go over the operation of that black tank flush when we hit our sewage valve in the rear. You also have a cap down here at the bottom that you can pull off, and that is where your lines will come in order to run all of your water and cable and everything else. Those stabilizer jacks also have an override on them on this side. We'll touch on that now. So here we are back on the driver's side of our unit, opposite of our motor in and our switch, and we have this handle. We can see this handle has a little slice in it, and it will line up with the post on that jack. We line it up and we can manually run that jack up and down if we need to. You'll also see next to those jacks a single blue line coming out with a valve on it. That is your fresh tank drain. Remember the fresh tank we filled right here? That is how you drain it out so that water doesn't become stagnant, or you can get rid of the extra weight. Behind me here is our Girard tankless hot water system. This gives you endless hot water as long as you're running it. It is a propane operated device, so you need to make sure you have propane in your unit and 12 volts. and that system will operate whenever you turn on your hot water. We'll go over the controls for that on the inside. So here at our dump station, of course, we have that little glow light from the switch in that control center that operates that, gives you a little bit of lighting at night. Over here, we can see labeled black and gray tank. These are associated with our valves down here at the bottom. The left is our black, the right is our gray, and this is where our dump goes, right? So we hook our sewer hose up to this and we hook it to the dump station or the sewage station at the campground that we're at. Now the difference between our black tank and our gray tank. Our black tank holds our sewage. Everything that goes down our toilet goes into that black tank. We need to leave our black tank closed whenever we are using it. The only time we open it is when we're ready to dump. So let's go through the process of dumping our black tank. We go ahead and hook our hose up. We're at the dump station. We pull that handle and we let everything come out, right? We have that black tank flush in the control center we talked about. We hook a water hose up to that, and that will go to a little jet nozzle inside that tank that's going to spray it down and help flush some of that stuff out of there. Now to help it a little bit more, you can flush it out with that. Then while it's still on, close this valve for about 30 to 60 seconds, open it up again. You're just letting a little bit of water build up in that tank and you're flushing it out again. Now it's very important after you've flushed your tank system and you're happy with it, you close this valve off and you put several gallons of water in there, whether you use the black tank flush or you go to your toilet and hold the pedal down there, put several gallons of water and your chemicals in there. This keeps that tank from, this keeps any sewage, toilet paper, anything that might be left in there from solidifying in that unit. If you leave this tank open all the time or you don't leave the water in there to help wash any of that stuff down, it will solidify in your tank and it's impossible to clean. So put a couple gallons of water in there and your chemicals to help that stuff go away. Your gray tank is your showers and sinks, whether it be your kitchen, bathroom, whatever. That's where all that water goes. You can, as long as you have a hose hooked up, you can leave that valve open all the time and let the water drain out. There's no problem there. So black tank sewage, gray tank showers and sinks. So just before you slide out on this one, we have our furnace exhaust right here. When it's operating, you'll feel some hot air come out of there and that little metal cap will get a little warm. So beware of that. We also have another gray tank valve right here. This is a separate sewage hookup from our other one, so you can get a Y pipe connector, hook both hoses up. This gray tank here is for our kitchen. So any water that goes in there is going to go into that tank. Once again, you can leave that valve open all the time. Also next to our front sewage station is a red and blue line right here. That is our low point drains. Our low point drains are used when we're ready to winterize our unit and we want to drain all the water out of our system. A couple of things to take note on our slide outs is you will notice we have cables on the top and bottom on each side. This is a cable driven slide. If you want more information on that slide out, you'll find it in our helpful hacks section about that. We'll also notice on this slide out we have a vent on the side. This vent is for our fan over our 3-burner stove to exhaust out. They do have some tabs on here. You have to pop it open in order for that air to actually exhaust out when you operate that fan. When you're storing your unit, you want to push and close that vent. That way no bugs, insects, or rodents can build a nest inside of there. On the rear of our unit, of course, we have some more LCI stabilizer jacks controlled there in the front. The override is going to be the same. On the back of our unit, we have our factory supply ladder to gain access to our roof. We need to go up on our roof after our trips and make sure no low-lying trees or anything caused any damage to our rubber up there. We're making sure no holes were poked, scratches, anything like that that can allow water in, and take care of that promptly. We also need to check our sealants on our roof every 60 to 90 days. It can peel, crack, anything like that, allowing water to get into our roof and causing damage to our unit. We also have sealant on our trim, around our lights. Anywhere where there was a hole put in the unit, you're going to have sealant. Same thing every 60 to 90 days. We need to check that for peeling and cracking and seal it, clean it and seal it. We do have other videos for that. If we do not stay on top of the maintenance for our unit, manufacturers will void your warranty when it comes to that stuff. So we need to make sure we're doing that customer maintenance, customer responsibility to take care of those items so you can keep your camper in good warranty. It's just like changing the oil in your car. You're making sure your camper lasts for years to come. We also have our 50 amp power supply right here. This is our cable that's coming from our park for electricity. It is a twist lock. You'll put it in there, turn it to the right, and it will lock that cable in. We also have a retainer ring on here. We want to tighten up that retainer ring to keep that from getting popped out and also keep it nice and tight so there's no arcing on that plug. Once we plugged it in, then we go over to our part cable, plug it in there next. We also want to make sure that our AC is off so we don't have any power surges whenever we go to plug in that system. We do have a little small receiver hitch down here. This is for extra carriage or something you want to put on here. It's not for towing a trailer behind you. We also have our spare tire on here and our Keystone camera ready system. That means we are pre-wired for a backup camera if we want to add that onto our unit. Now on the end of our bumper right here, we do have caps. We can pull those caps off and store our sewer hose in there so we don't have to put it in that front compartment and make it all nasty and smelly. On the passenger side of our unit, we have our pass-through bay right here. We have a little light in here as well as an on-off switch. That on-off switch will operate your front cap lights. In here we also have our outdoor TV hookup. We have our outlet here and our key TV system that we spoke about on the other side. That's where the campsite cable will plug in, or your satellite right here goes from your cable or antenna straight to your TV, and your satellite to your receiver, then to your TV if you're using Dish or DirecTV. Above me we have our 12-volt operated awning. This is a sunshade, not a rain shade. So anytime rain is coming, approaching, whatever, you need to roll this in. You have high winds, roll this in. Do not take the chance. If you get enough water on here, it will collapse. All of this goes for your rear awning too. They are both the same type of product. So be careful if you're going on long trips away from your camper, even a short trip, roll that awning in just to be certain that you're not going to come back to a catastrophe. This is not a warrantable item. It would end up being an insurance claim, so we don't want that to happen to you. Once again, 12-volt powered awning. We'll check our fuse panel. If it's not operating, we'll check those blade fuses that we'll visit later on the inside to make sure that fuse isn't blown. The other thing we need to know about our awning is we're going to have some residual condensation from our AC that may leak down onto our awning. We also may end up having some dew that runs off the roof, so on and so forth. We don't want that water to puddle on our awning. So anytime you roll your awning out, you want to pitch it either to the front or the back. Now here you have two awnings, so the rear awning I would pitch it to the back, your front awning I would pitch it to the front, and it's real easy. You come to this arm right here, this hinge point, and we just pull it down, and that is going to pitch your awning to the front on this one. You can do the same thing on that rear arm if you want to pitch it to the rear. Either side, they're both the same. Now when you're ready to roll that awning in, just give it a push up and then you can retract your awning. Under here, of course, you have your outdoor speakers controlled by your radio on the inside, and we have our entry door that is friction controlled. These hinges right here, friction controlled, so you'll feel a little bit of resistance when you open and close that door. This is to prevent wind from coming and blowing that door shut or blowing it open and bashing the side of your unit. We also have our solid steps for our entry to store them. We pick them up. We have a little blue latch right here. We pull that latch and we lock it into our frame. Give it a little tug to make sure that they don't come out. Then you can close your entry door and be on your way. To bring them down, pull that blue latch, grab them, make sure your entry door is all the way open so that hinge does not grab it and tear up your door, and we just drop our steps down. Now we've leveled our unit from left to right, we've leveled it from front to back. The next step is we have to level our steps. When I come to our steps, make sure that we have a nice level surface here, and if we don't, we can see on the bottom of here we have these silver tabs. If we just push that tab in, we can extend or retract our legs on here. So if we're wanting to level out, we have this one short. Pull that leg, drop it down, make sure it locks in, and then we've leveled out our steps. We want to be sure that this frame right here isn't hitting the bottom of our door. If our steps are too high, it will hit and damage the frame as well as the door frame. And we also want to make sure that our threshold is at the proper spot so our door will actually close. As we come into our hallway by our entry, we do have our monitor panel and activation for all our awnings and slide rooms. So here up top we have our battery, our fresh tank, our black tank, and our gray tanks. So we'll see multiple blacks and multiple grays here on your particular unit. You had 2 grays and 1 black, so you can ignore that black too. It's just a generic panel. If we hit those buttons, we can see it lights up right here, giving us an indication of what level it is at. Here is our water pump switch. That water pump switch is to pull from that fresh tank that we have onboard water storage on. If we are hooked to city water or that tank is empty, we want to turn that pump off so it doesn't burn up. Here we have our awning lights for the front awning, and here we have our ceiling lights for our interior. This is our slide room operation for one side and our slide room operation for the other, as well as our awning extend and retract as well. Next, we'll go over our Furrion AC thermostat. We'll start with our cool option first. Our cool will cool the air throughout our unit. We, of course, set our thermostat to whatever point we want it to be, and we have our fan speed options. We have low and high. For low and high, that fan will run all the time. Now, whenever we want that fan to cut off, whenever the compressor cuts off, much like we likely do at home, we have it on auto. That system will shut off and on with the compressor. Our next mode is our heat mode. Our heat mode activates our gas-powered furnace on our unit. We choose our set point, and our heater will come on whenever necessary. There is fan speeds on here, but it does not change the fan speed on that furnace. It is a single fan speed on there controlled by the furnace board. Our next mode is our fan mode. Our fan mode simply circulates air throughout our unit without cooling it or anything. This will come out of our rooftop air, and we can just change from high to low to control that fan speed if we wish. That fan will stay on the entire time when we have it in our fan mode. Our last mode is our dry mode. Our dry mode is like a dehumidifier. We can choose our set point, and it will cool our unit down to that set point, and it will continue to cool past that, but alternate every 6 to 10 minutes off and on. That way it doesn't drop that temperature too low and freeze you out of the unit, but it still dries the air in your unit. Another thing to note with our furnace is that the air is going to come out of the vents on the floor. It's not going to come out of the rooftop air. Your only rooftop air is going to be your fan and your cool and your dry. Your heat will come out of those floor vents from the furnace. We have two light switches here. This one will operate our lights over our bar, and this one will operate the lower lights in our hallway to add some night light. So here we are in our bathroom. Our shower, just like your standard shower, you have hot and cold. The only difference is on your shower head, you have this little latch. It is an on and off for your shower head. Now, you're going to want to use that when you are dry camping, meaning you don't have a city water connection or you don't have a gray tank connection to be able to drain out that shower water. You're trying to conserve your fresh water and conserve the amount of water that you're putting into that gray tank. So customer's choice to use this feature or not, you can do one of two things. You can go ahead and shut your water off like you normally would right here, or you can shut it off at the head and you won't have to find that sweet spot right there. So the idea is to go ahead and get wet, then shut off your shower water, lather up, and then turn it back on when you're ready to rinse so you're not putting as much water into that tank. I'll give you a warning, that first burst of water that comes out of here whenever you kick it back on will be a little bit cold, but it'll warm up quickly after that. I just shoot it off to the sidewall. That way I don't freeze myself out. Our next is our RV toilet. RV toilet is going to go straight into our black tank. Key things we need to remember is we're only putting sewage down there and RV toilet paper. Nothing else. We don't want to put any other products in there, of course, besides our chemicals. Now for number one, just liquids, hit that pedal, flush it down. Number two, we need to barely push that pedal down, and we need to fill that bowl up about halfway to 3/4 of the way. That way the solids that we have in there get flushed down. If we don't put the proper amount of water in there, it's not going to flush that stuff down all the way through the pipe, and it'll get stuck and just causes problems. So make sure we're filling that bowl up with enough water to flush that out. Over here we have our GFCI. Our GFCI controls any wet outlets we have on the unit, whether they be the kitchen or outside outlets. If those outlets were to get wet, it's going to automatically trip this breaker on this outlet, indicating an orange light letting you know it's tripped. If you over amp any of those outlets, you got too many skillets plugged in, coffee makers, hair dryers, whatever, it will trip this outlet, indicated once again by that orange light. Now you have two buttons on here. The one on the left is your test button. If you ever want to test and make sure that GFCI is working properly, you push that button and it will automatically trip it out, indicating the orange light. When it is tripped out, whether it be from the test or overamped or got wet, whatever, you hit that middle button right there, and that is your reset. It will reset that outlet. Now, if it constantly trips when you try to reset it, unplug some of the items that you have in those outlets or check to see if they're wet, because it will continue to trip if that's not fixed. Our other item in here is our Girard tankless water heater control. Let's go over the operation of that now. Here we have our Girard tankless water heater control. We have our Celsius Fahrenheit button right here at the top left to swap between the two types of temperature. We have our on-off button, and we have our up and down that will change the temperature that we have set for our unit. Now, once we initiate our hot water, you'll see a couple of things happen. You'll see our temperature up here change to our output temperature, which is the temperature of the water coming out of our tankless water heater system. We'll also see a shower head icon at the bottom right. That shows that water is in use. And then we'll see our fan icon on the bottom left, lets us know that our tankless water heater system is initiating. Once we see the flame that pops up in the middle of our unit, that means that our system is actually heating that water, and we'll see that temperature begin to increase. Now, these systems only run for 20 minutes before going into a shutoff mode. In the event that you're still using hot water after that point, just turn the hot water off and turn it back on, and it will reinitiate and begin to heat water again. You also have a 12-volt exhaust fan vent here in the bathroom. It's highly suggested that you use that whenever you take showers, so it exhausts any moisture in here, and it reduces humidity and moisture in this bathroom and helps control that better so you don't end up with any mold or mildew. Not much to go over in our front bedroom area. We do have our backer for our TV in here, as well as that Key TV satellite cable and antenna hookup and our 110 power. We do have a second AC in our unit, and this AC is controlled by our controls on the ceiling assembly. Now, we do have fan. Fan is only going to blow air through here. It's not going to cool the air. If we go to cool on here, then we can adjust our thermostat cold to colder, and that will actually cool our air in here. We also have a dump valve on here. This dump valve is only going to let the cool air from this AC come out of this vent right here. If we want it to circulate through our vents in our ductwork, like this one right here, then we will need to shut that off so it can go through the ductwork. If we leave it open, it's only going to cool off this area. As we enter our kitchen area, we'll notice our COLP detector located right here. This will notify us of any cautious gases we need to be aware of that might leak in our unit, and it'll alert us, hey, we need to exit our unit. We need to test this monthly by holding down that test button and making sure that chirper still works. We also want to know that we have an expiration dates on these as well, either printed on the front, or if you unscrew it, it may be stamped on the back side. We also need to check our smoke detector. That is powered by a 9-volt battery. Check that just like you would your ones at home. This one is wired into your 12-volt system, so no battery on this. Here we have our 110 and 12-volt control center. Our 110 breakers right here for all of your 110 appliances, labeled at the bottom. And all of your 12-volt components are labeled right here. You have the blade fuses. You want to check if some of those items aren't working. Also in here, you'll have your converter. You can't see it, but it's mounted inside here. That's what this grill at the bottom is. You'll hear a fan running. That's to cool that converter. Your converter is essentially a battery charger. It changes 110 to 12 volts to charge your battery system anytime you are plugged in on that shore power cord. In our kitchen area, we do have another GFCI outlet that is resettable over here in the corner. So that one is likely going to control our kitchen outlets. Our other one in the bathroom will likely control our outdoor outlets as well as that bathroom outlet. Here we have our Furrion 12-volt refrigerator. This is going to run off of your battery power. We have our freezer and our ice box down here. On this particular one, we have a control knob down here at the bottom from off to cold to colder. Now, one thing we need to keep in mind, no matter the brand, these don't have drain tubes. So after you shut down your system, you're done camping. If you choose to leave your unit unplugged and hit that disconnect or come turn it off right here, whatever you choose, if this system is off, you need to defrost this refrigerator and get all the water out of it. And you need to wipe down all the moisture in your refrigerator box as well. If you don't do that, this ice in the freezer or any moisture is going to drip down and it can leak out of here. These are airtight gaskets, not watertight, so that water can leak out and damage your wood components around that refrigerator, and that's not going to be covered under warranty. So make sure we are wiping everything down and getting all those liquids out and let it dry out while it's in storage. So I have our standard 110 microwave in here, as well as our stove vent and light. Remember our stove vent, we talked about they had that vent over behind the slide out on the outside. You got to push those two tabs and open that up if you want to use this exhaust vent. Close it whenever you go to store it. You have a glass countertop right here, give you more countertop space. Whenever we are in travel, we want it in this position. Obviously, when we want to use our burner top, we need to open up that glass top. We can use our burner top by choosing whatever burner we choose, turn it to the flame icon on that knob, turn your igniter knob, and then your burner will light up. Now, I always tell customers it's a great idea to come here first whenever you're getting ready for that camping trip and bleed the air out of your LP system. Anytime you store your unit with your tanks off, you're going to end up with air in your propane system. Or if you change your tanks out, you're going to end up with air in your propane system. So before you go activate things like your water heater or your furnace and risk the chance of those things going into a fault and having to reset them again and all that stuff, come to your stovetop first, pick that designated burner, turn it to the flame icon, and light it. Now, it may take a lot longer than this to light that up because there is air in that system, but keep clicking until it lights. And make sure you have a nice crisp blue flame around it. It may take 30 to 60 seconds of burning that air out of there. Once you've done that, then go to operate those other appliances, or just do like I said, do it first during your camping trip and you won't have to worry about it. Your oven, on the other hand, is going to take a little bit longer for that first ignition once you bled the air out. Some people decide to use a long stem lighter to light that first versus your ignition knob. Whatever your choice is, go for it. So the right knob all the way over here, same thing, you're going to have a flame icon, but to light that pilot, you're going to have to push this button down and hold it. Once you're holding it, hit that igniter until that pilot lights. Continue to hold that knob down for another 30 to 60 seconds to warm up that thermocouple. Once you think it's warmed up enough, you turn it to your desired temperature. Once you're done, that burner tube should light up. If it doesn't light up, go back to step one, relight that pilot, and let it sit for a little bit longer until that thermocouple is lit, and then it should work just fine. You do have a button over here on the side that will light these knobs up blue. If you turn it to the bottom, it will also light up your oven. Now, you also notice whenever you initiate these knobs, this ring turns red. This lets you know that those knobs are initiated and that gas is flowing out of that system. So it's a nice safety feature in case kids or you bump it and turn it into that red, you know that gas is being emitted out of that burner and you can turn it off. In our entertainment area, we have our Connex TV. Our Connex TV doubles as our radio, our regular TV watching, as well as Bluetooth for your phone. So rather than having a separate radio anywhere in your unit, everything can be operated off of this TV right here. And it does control your zones for your indoor and outdoor speakers for zone 1 and zone 2. So everything plays straight through this. Down below we have our 110 fireplace. Let's go over the operation of that. Here we have our fireplace. We have a sensor right up here in the top right. We have to aim that remote at to turn it on. We have our Celsius and Fahrenheit temperature we can change to. And right here, this little flame icon is going to change the dimness of our flame. If we want to change the lighting of our flame, we hit the light bulb on the screen down here at the bottom, and it'll give you some different options right there. If we want to operate our heater on a timer, once again, electric heater, it is going to be this button right here. It looks like a clock, and when we push it, we can see some times pop up: 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, all the way up to 8, and then it will go to 0 hours, letting you know that that timer is off. If we want to change our temperature, we'll use one of these two buttons at the bottom, and we can see once again we have a temperature down there, and we will go ahead and raise it until it kicks on, or lower it, we want it to kick off, or we can keep going until it says on, and that heater will stay running all the time. We kick it up one more time, and it's going to say OF, meaning that that system is off. You also remember our Key TV system on our TVs. We have satellite cable and antenna. Our hookups for satellite cable are in that front control center outside. Now, the thing to remember about this is it is automatically going to swap between cable and antenna without the need for a boost button. Any of our older campers, we may know that we had a boost button in a lot of those. Well, Keystone has gotten rid of that. Their system automatically changes over without having to worry about that boost. If you don't know about it, just know that you can automatically swap between cable and air antenna without having to push any other buttons, and you can scan for channels. We also have an upgradable feature in our unit, the WineGuard LTE Wi-Fi system. That Wi-Fi system can be upgraded to a router. On our antenna, it will pick up that Wi-Fi signal and help boost that signal if you have Wi-Fi at the campground. If you don't, you can also purchase through a cellular company to add a SIM card in there and have Wi-Fi wherever that network covers. Well, notice in our kitchen area, this is where our main AC is, controlled by that thermostat in the hallway, slightly different from our one in our bedroom. There's no controls on here. We do still have a vent right here. This is our return vent with a filter on it. We'll pull those two tabs, take that down, and we need to clean that now and again. Now we do have another dump valve right here. Like I said, in our bedroom area, this dump valve can be initiated and cool off just this area by leaving this open. If we want it to run through the ductwork on our roof, then we close it off and it'll come out of those vents in the ceiling. The second awning here on your door side slide out is controlled right in by your dinette booth, that in and out button right there.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us, and keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.